look at the big air. Oh, that's Josh running wide. Look how close they are. And away they go. The two Subarus get away fairly evenly. Kieran tries to go in wide. Oh, Tom's hit Kieran. But Josh goes back on the inside. Gary goes wide. Mike goes up the inside of Gary. Oh, there's a bit of a tap there. Oh, there's Craig has pushed Sam into the wall. Josh Hardy wins his second ever win and the second win of the day. Chris doing more rallycross in the BMW than actual touring car racing, and it's the first win for Mark Nicol in the Renault Megane. Joe's definitely going to get it. A fantastic win for Heafy on his debut event, his first ever win in the Nissan GTR, unless Kieran can make a last minute dive. And he does, and Mark Nicol is 6th, which means he's the independent champion for season 2. Craig Keller in the Nissan GTR is going to be a win for Craig. Craig Keller is going to take the win in this race. Craig Keller is your season 2 FWC champion. Let's take a final look at the points going into the last race to see who is up for what title and where. So Craig in the driver's title is looking likely to take the title with 260 points to 221 to Darren, but you never know what happens. Darren needs to win and Craig needs to have an awful race for that to happen. Josh is 3rd with 212, but can't take the title, as also Mark 182. But a good set of results potentially may put Josh into 2nd and Darren down to 3rd. In the teams then, Elliott Racing currently leading 485, but K&N and DC are very close, 467 to 462. Could either of those take the title away from Elliott? You never know, but of course can K&N keep that 2nd position against the DC Motorsports boys in 3rd. In the independents, Josh is likely to take the title with 333 to Connor's 313, but of course it looks like Connor will need to win this one, as Josh needs to have a horrendous race as well on his side of things. So all 3 titles up for grabs, but likely that the forefront runners may take those titles. But as we have seen before, anything can happen. So let's have a look at the grid to see who lines up where after the reverse grid has been drawn. The last reverse grid draw then of the season took place with positions 6 to 16 in the pot to draw from, and number 16 was drawn out, which promoted Tom Foster onto the front rotor grid in his K-Tech Ford Mustang. This also meant that K-Tech locked out the front rotor grid with Kieran Thomas in 2nd position. In row 2 we've got Harry Cook in the DC Motorsports BMW with Chris Hensby in his Subaru WRX. Row 3 is Rob Pellett in the Nissan GTR for Elliott Racing, next to Darren Parker in his BMW for DC Motorsports. Row 4 are the 2 Hyundai Genesis of HB Motorsports, Stephen Heath and Joe Burrows. Row 5 is Alan Stretton in the Subaru WRX, next to the Nissan GTR of K&N Racing's Mike Kuipers. Row 6 is the other K&N Nissan of Mark Nicol and Connor Hewlett in his Subaru WRX. Row 7 is Joe McCall in the BMW for Team Snap-on, next to Gary Black in the Renault Megane. And of course the back rotor grid is Josh Hardy in his Renault Megane, and our title leader so far, Craig Keller in the Elliott Racing Nissan GTR. So here we are again. I can't believe we're back here for the final race of season 3, as it only just started not that long ago. And away they go. The 2 K-Techs get a horrendous start, wheel spinning everywhere from Tom there, but they maintain the lead around the first corner, and that is someone off, and that's Darren again. So Darren is off into the gravel for the 2nd time this event and drops down to near the back of the grid. So Alan nearly losing it there. He is on the back end of Connor here. So 3 Subarus all together for the independents. Chris struggling on the outside there, Mark, Nicol and everyone else pushing forward to try and get up into the higher positions. So leading still is Kieran and Tom, and running together. But Harry is really pushing and putting the pressure on board with Harry. And those two Mustangs working together at the front. So Harry is Connor is fourth. So Connor in a good position to push on for the Independence title as he tries to get past Harry. Heathy and Joe, both hind eyes, are 6th and 7th, so better running for them so far. Mike is down in 8th, 9th now as Craig gets past him, with Chris dropping down to 10th already, unfortunately. Joe is 11th, Darren is 12th, Josh is 13th, so Darren and Josh fighting down the back. Gary, Mark and Rob pick up at the back. Back on board with Harry then. Oh, sideways there for Tom, nearly losing it. And so Tom gets, oh, there's contact. Tom is off. Tom is off into the grass. Let's see where Tom is. And yeah, so I think Tom did go off. We unfortunately couldn't find where he was, but we can have another look at the replay to find out what happened to Tom there, as there was a little bit of contact between him and Harry. And Harry drops down to 3rd with Connor ahead of him after that. So Connor nearly leading this race with just Kieran in front of him to try and get past. Harry's dropping down further now. Let's watch Tom then here with Harry, and I think he gets the wheels on the curbs and actually hits the tyre wall after he spins out. Let's watch on board with Connor then and see the contact. Yeah, I don't know, there's a little bit of Harry there, but I think Tom started it. Yeah, so Harry, after that incident, is just struggling to get his rhythm back, and is under pressure from Craig, from the hind eyes, and from Alan Stretton here. And Alan and Heathy having a bit of a tussle. And Darren is actually behind all of this, so Darren has made up some positions. But at the moment, Craig is actually ahead, and it's going to be nowhere enough for Darren to even consider taking that title away. The team's title is going to be looking a little bit more interesting from here, as we can see by the points, but very, very early days so far. And of course, in the Independence, Connor still won't be able to take the title with Josh in his current position. So Kieran leading this race. On to lap 6 as he comes round. Harry still fighting on there with Craig. So further down we've got Craig and Harry. That's Stephen Heath running wide. Darren is ahead of Mike, the Subaru of Alan and Joe here. So Josh Hardy is looking really racy on the back of Alan here. And gets past him, so that's more points for Josh. And that's Chris Hensby off in the background. So Chris now dropping down to the back with Rob, and oh, that's Josh as well. So Josh has dropped down, so this isn't good for Josh. Let's have a look and see what this means with the points. Oh, Rob is off as well. So these are the points so far for the Independence title. Let's have a look, see where Connor is, because Connor is leading the race now. So yeah, Connor is in the lead and Josh is at the back. So Joe in 8th, Stretton in 9th, Mark is 10th, and Gary and so going on board with Rob here, as Rob is battling it with Stephen, and with Josh in the background there. And that's Heathy, and Heathy's gone off. Heathy is in the gravel, back on to the circuit, and regains control as Chris Hensby now catches up with him with Tom in the background. So this race then for the lead of the race is between Craig, Kieran and Connor. And Craig, could he potentially take the triple as Darren did back in Le Mans? And Craig now is side by side with Kieran as they come down past the finish line and onto lap 10. It's looking like it's going to be a close race so far, looking good. A bit of contact there, or some contact there with Kieran, Craig and Connor. So Connor's been pushed off. Connor goes down to 4th and 5th. So Craig Kellett is leading this race now. So I wonder if there was a little bit of contact there with Kieran that pushed Craig into him. So let's have a little look and find out what actually happened, and to see whether Connor was hit because of Craig, which is because of Kieran, or not. And that is another off there from Mike Kuipers. That was a big off. So let's find out. There he is. So Mike Kuipers is down to 13th now, so something happened. We saw some tyre screeching, we saw Mike going off, so let's find out what happened to Mike in the replay. So let's watch this off with Mike then. It looks a little bit bunched up here, very bunched up, as Mike, whoa, comes off the grass there, and then so it's one of the BMWs. That was Joe. Unfortunately, there was big contact pushing Mike into the gravel. Let's go on board with Joe then. And as you can see ahead, it gets really bunched up. There's the contact with one of the DC Motorsports BMWs, and then Joe unfortunately makes big contact with Mike. Let's watch this again then on board with Craig. He's on the inside of Kieran, and then I think they all just outbrake themselves and go wide. So Tom and Chris having a fight at the back, but at the front, of course, Craig is counting down those laps and is closer and closer to taking his second and doing the double for the title. Second, so it's consecutive in a row. He retains the title, but he's still got a few laps left. Anything can happen. Darren is up to 3rd, but it's not going to be enough. Darren needs to be ahead of Craig, and he needs to be way ahead of him. And that's Connor slowing there, so Connor's gone off again slightly. Harry and Joe Burrows are having a fight here, and looking good. Harry, this race, he's actually up with Darren, so the 4th and 3rd. So DC Motorsports are looking strong in the team's title here. It looks like they're going to be taking 2nd away at least from K&N, and potentially, if Darren gets up ahead of Craig, could they take the team's title ahead of Pellet, as Rob Pellet he's struggling down near the back. But you never know, Rob could make some spaces up. So Kieran drops down to 3rd, and the two title protagonists somehow end up at the front to battle it out for the title. Of course, we know that the points are nowhere near enough now because of Darren's off in race 2, but it will be entertaining at least to watch the two battle it out. And as I say, not only that, it'll be interesting for the team's title as Harry is in 4th. And the nearest K&N car is Mark, who is in 7th. And of course, earlier on we saw Mike, who is in 13th, spin out into the gravel. Tom is on the back of Stephen Heath, so he's trying to make some progress. A frustrating return for Tom in the Mustang. Finished pretty much at the back of the grid in race 2. Got pole position and spun out fairly early on in this race. It's just back down to the back of the grid again. He's got some thinking to do coming away into season 4. So Craig and Darren really pulling out the gap ahead of Kieran. So Connor and Mark having a great battle. Mark is defending Will. Side by side as they go onto the straight for the 16th lap now, as they go down into the first corner, and Connor stays behind Mark, so still in 6th. Gary is moving up to 7th. Oh, that is one of the BMWs. That is Joe in the background, nearly losing it. And Mike and Joe Burrows now fighting out. So Joe Burrows down to 12th. So he was up there, then he wasn't, then he is. So I wonder if it, unfortunately, it's to do with earlier on with Mike. And Mike now really side by side with Joe. Did a bit of a tap, and the other Hyundai of HB is behind this pack, this duo, as Tom's still fighting with Stephen Heath. And that's Chris Hensby. Chris is back off into the gravel, unfortunately, and he is really struggling to get onto the track there. So back up the front, Craig still leading. Darren is still in 2nd, but it looks a little bit closer than what it was before. Oh, Darren on the gravel, nearly dancing with the devil there. So Harry is catching up with Kieran. And Kieran goes really wide, very wide there, so Harry gets ahead. That means Harry and Darren have got the double podium here, 2nd and 3rd, so there's be a massive points haul. Saying that, Mark is in 5th, so he's got past, he's staying ahead of Connor and looking to get some good points, but of course Mike is further down. Here's Josh. Just needs to keep it steady now because he's still in a position to win the title, and he's got Gary again behind him, who both were fighting for position but much further up in the podium in race 2. So we are coming to the last few laps now. That's Tom off on the grass, and looking like he's having a bit of fun in these last few laps. So it's coming down now to The cars are lapping the back markers, the first one being Chris Hensby up the front there, so as you can see Craig is looking to get past Chris, and to be honest there's not really much more in terms of back markers after Chris, as further up it's still about half a lap. There's Chris who slows down, does the right thing with the blue flag. So now Kieran has dropped down to 6th. So Kieran is just struggling in this last few laps to keep that Mustang on the track, and struggling to keep the strong pace he had really early into the race. He's behind Connor, and Connor's really fought hard for that independence title, but I don't think it's going to be for him this season. But he'll come back fighting in season 4, no doubt. On to lap 22. Darren and Craig still going at it, but Craig still maintaining. Darren really struggling to keep up and really put the fight on to see if he can get past Craig. And it's almost a little bit like how it's been all season. Darren has been much more comfortable with the BMW, but unfortunately with the new tyre ballast it's made things more interesting for both Craig and Darren. But Darren's still having to chase Craig for the title, and those laps are disappearing to the point where, unless Craig retires now out of the blue, Darren will not take the title. So there's a big battle further down the pack. It's between Joe, Tom and the two Hyundais of HB. This is getting really interesting, even right up to the last few laps, right down the back of the grids for just a few points. It's getting really interesting here. So Gary's got ahead of Josh, and Kieran's just dropping back now with Mark Nichol and Harry Cook having a great battle. And we are coming to the last few laps. Craig Kellett is just literally a few laps away from taking his second title. So Craig coming round on lap 26 or 27, just a few laps left. He can really start to relax a bit now. Tom's down in 15th at the back of this now. And as I say, this battle here is really interesting. How 5 cars have got together like this. Oh, bit of contact there, and that's Joe who's off. Joe is in the gravel, so a bit of contact there with Tom, unfortunately, who stops to let Joe pass, I think. Yeah. So let's watch on board with Tom here. There's Joe having a fight with Alan there, and then Tom just gets the back and unsettles the BMW. But round the hairpin and on his final lap is Craig Kellett, just ahead of a really good fight from Darren Parker, but it's not going to be enough, as once again Craig Kellett comes round to the final bend at Brands Hatch in the final in the Nissan GTR for the second time running. Craig Kellett is your season 3 winner and champion. A fantastic win for Craig. Commiserations for Darren. Another strong title fight. Harry takes 3rd, Mark takes 4th, Connor takes 5th, Kieran takes 6th, Gary 7th, Josh is 8th, and Mike is 9th. Of course, Josh is the Independence champion for season 3. Joe 10th, Stretton was 11th, Rob 12th, Tom 13th, 14th, Stephen Heath, and Joe comes away with 15th. Craig gets the triple win then here at Brands Hatch, and he gets the driver's title for season 3, and it's the 2nd title he's won in a row. Darren gets 2nd, and he gets 2nd in the championship as well, ahead of Harry in 3rd, so a double podium for DC Motorsports. Mark Nicol 4th, Connor was 5th, Kieran 6th, Gary 7th, Josh was 8th, Mike 9th, Joe Burrows 10th, Alan Stretton 11th, Rob was 12th, Tom 13th, Stephen 14th, Joe McCall 15th, and Chris Hensby finishes a lap down at the back. So let's have a look at the points then, how it finished for season 3. Craig wins with 301 points. Darren secures 2nd with 255, as Josh takes 3rd, 228. Mark ends up in 4th, with Joe Burrows ending up in 5th. Mike was 6th with 177. 8th ended up being Connor, which is a good finish for Connor in the end. Kieran 9th, 159. Rob was 10th, 156. Gary is 11th, and then from 12th is Stephen, 142. 13th, Joe McCall, Tom 14th. 15th, Alan 75. And then 16 is Gary 71. 17th, Aaron, Tom, Callum, Ben, and Chris follow on down the back. In the teams then, Elliott Racing are the team's title champions for the 2nd time running again, with 541 points. DC Motorsport secure 2nd and steal it back from K&N in the last race after that fantastic double podium from Darren and Harry. A good 3rd for K&N for their first season as a team, 513 in 3rd, with HB in for 429, and K-Tech failed to snatch away from HB in last, 358 points. In the Independents, Josh Hardy is your season 3 title winner. Connor a good 2nd, 313, and then obviously Gary is 3rd. Joe was 4th, 180. Luke was 5th, 141. And then the rest follow on, with Alan Stretton getting 6th in the end. So a good 6th for Alan after only just 2 races. So thank you very much for joining us for season 3. Only just 6 rounds. We did cut it short, unfortunately, but we'll be back in the brand new year 2021 for season 4. It looks like it's going to be a bumper season with even more entries in there. So whilst we're here, let's go over our title winners to celebrate. Craig Kellett is season 3's drivers champion, and also joins Elliott Racing with Rob Hellett for the team's title champion, 2nd time in a row. And of course your Independence champion is Josh Hardy in the Renault Megane. He snatches it back from Mark Nicol. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you for season 4 in 2021.